Some of you guys that follow me a lot have seen a series I did about 2 months ago now. That series was day 1 through 11, I think, of a bathroom renovation. On day 1, this kid hit me in a Jeep into the back of my truck and ruined my day and ruined my truck. Was the whole tire was just like obliterated. It was pretty bad. That's actually my spare tire. And then all this damage occurred, and including the bumper. The bumper is actually stretched out almost parallel. And the guy, the tow truck driver who came and changed my tire out, pushed the bumper back enough to where it kind of looked okay. And for the last 2 months I've been fighting, trying to get this fixed because it was obvious that the kid hit me. So I've been wrangling with the lawyer, and I don't like lawyers. I finally came out with a settlement. This is not what I was expecting. It's about $3,500 to fix it, but I didn't want to fight it any longer. I just kind of gave up finally and took what I could get. And so I'm finally, yay, gonna get this taken care of after 2 months of driving around like this. These are one of these rare occasions, a job that actually kind of excites me to do. As I've said on other videos in the past, kind of my work is redundant as far as doing showers and tile and stuff like that. In this case, this whole bathroom, which is actually relatively small, I think it's probably about 15 by 8 bathroom. And that includes this whole, what used to be a tub area. So not only we're doing a tub to shower conversion, in this case they decided to opt to keep the drain there, but we're doing a curbless shower. So all the prep work was done prior to my arrival, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad. This is an older house, and little discrepancy down at that end. It's about 1.5 inches. And over there it's about 2 inches. The floor kind of goes at a tilt. You can see it's kind of bent down over that floor joist. So I'll make up for that difference and figure that out. But this is actually gonna, when everything is said and done, it's gonna look really nice because all the tile. Oh, not only is it a tub to shower conversion and a curbless shower, but it's also a wet room. And what I mean by that, there's going to be tile wall to wall. I think the only place there's no tile is going to be the ceiling. So in theory, any water that gets anywhere in this whole bathroom is going to be innocuous. It won't hurt a thing. This is day 1 for me. I had nothing to do with the plumbing, nothing to do with any of this prep. There are a couple things I still have to take care of. I know there's going to be a shower door and a panel right as you step, well, actually the door's here. Where as you step in, there's going to be a shower door, 24-inch shower door, and then the panel here. So the door is needing some type of support in here, and there's really nothing between these studs. Same on the other side, so it's going to need some support. So I'm going to do that. They want a niche, 12 by 24, so 2 tile, and there'll be something in the middle, either tile or a piece of glass or something to separate the 2 areas. Be that as it may, that's how it's going to end up looking. There's going to be a white, wavy 24 by 12 tile going vertically on this wall. Only on this wall, the wavy tile will go. Then there's going to be a solid white porcelain tile, very shiny one that encompasses all of this wall. every wall in here. It's going to be white shiny tile. And then in here is going to be, I believe it's a travertine looking tile that's going to go in here. I believe it's going to be elongated this way also, 12 by 24. There's going to be no pattern on here, by the way, so it's going to be no stagger or anything. It's going to be 12 by 24, 12 by 24 sitting next to each other all the way up on all walls. And then including the floor is going to go in this direction with just straight lines, no stagger. That same tile is going to go in the shower, and this is going to be the high spot, of course, at 2 inches, and it's going to taper its way down. Actually, that'll be more than 2 inches by the time the floor is built up. and so it's going to taper its way down to the drain, and when it gets down there, there'll be a small piece of tile going in that direction, so everything goes into this, what will be a lineal drain. So it's very different. Haven't done one of these before. I've done a combination, I've done individual things like this, tub to shower conversion. I've done a curbless shower before. I've done a lot of this stuff, but I haven't done a wet room. So the combination of all of them put together is what I'm doing. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of math and calculating to figure out where it goes where and how it's going to work. But eventually it's going to look really nice. This is day one of probably, I'm guessing, about 9 days. A little bit longer than most jobs, even though the prep was done. Just because of, there's a lot of work, a lot of tiling, as I said, a lot of measuring and stuff like that. So day one, this shower valve isn't quite right. These mud guards are in here for a reason. It's to protect all the pretty stuff, as this cap does, but it's also to let you know their parameter. So your finished wall with your tile should be minimum there, maximum there, and you can see it's flush with 2x4s. So that needs to be bumped out. The plumber did an excellent job of doing everything. By the way, there's going to be, you see a diverter down here. There's going to be a shower head and a rainforest head up there. But he kind of messed up, and he went through a lot of work to make this happen, so I feel bad for him, but that's definitely not workable with what I'm doing. Wallboard has to go up in here, and then tile has to go up there, so it's going to come out to about there. That's not going to work. Everything in here is going to be red guarded. I have a 3-gallon bucket out there. I think we're going to probably need more than that. All the walls to the ceiling, the entire floor, once the backer goes here, once the mud pan is poured, once the backer goes in, everything is going to get red guard. So I will probably do about a 4 or 5 part series on this bathroom, just because there's so many things going on. Some of this information may in fact help you, and I will try and be succinct as possible and not go on and on and on. But yeah, a lot of stuff here. So I'm going to get started. I want to address some things while I'm here. I've done some work already. As you can see, I'm going to get to that momentarily. That's part of what I want to address. I've said this in another video, that prep matters. The prep matters a lot. If you look in that last little clip, you're going to see that the carpenter they hired had their studs this way, and they did some notch outs and stuff like that, and went to quite a bit of work to try and make this wall kind of contiguous with this one. When I put my straight edge across there, there was a bump. I think it was right there, and I thought I'm going to have to bump a recess. I'm going to have to put some shims in there in order to make all that flat, so when my wallboard goes up. Then as I was looking at it, I said, no, this can't work. This can't work at all. For a lot of different reasons, which I'm not going to enumerate, but the end result is that I pulled all those studs out that he had in there, and I restudded it, not with the same ones either, and I did my notch outs a little deeper. I don't know if it was pure laziness or what it was, but the reason is because, as I mentioned earlier, this valve has a mud guard, and this is a parameter, as I've already said before, and this is the outside part, and there's a little bit of play that you can still get your escutcheon on, but that's how it should look, and it wasn't looking that way before. Actually, this could go out a little bit further. That's almost at the bottom edge, and by the time I get my wallboard on, I'll barely have enough room for tile, so the tile will still bump out a little further than it's supposed to. I did the best I could with what I had. You see, I've already put the blocking up. So now when I put a straight edge across all the way from that corner all the way back here, it's flat and flush and all that stuff, which is how I like it. Now, let me get to what I'm trying to explain. There are tilers out there who are good at 5, 6, 8 different things. It's important to know what your tiler knows. A lot of jobs that I get involved in that are bad shower jobs is because the tiler didn't know how to do the prep, and then the tile doesn't turn. True enough, the tile was still messed up, but prep matters. God, I can't reiterate that enough. When the plumber that these guys hired didn't talk to the carpenter. That's the reason that I had the issues with the floor before, and they had to come back and redo, and they still didn't do a great job. They did an okay job. As you see, I had to do a little build up of thin set there because this was lower, as I said before, than this is, and it can't be that way. You know, when I tile, everything is finite, and I can't be finite with infinite different things going on. When the carpenter doesn't talk to the plumber, and then the carpenter and the plumber don't talk to the tile guy, there has to be a cohesiveness going on. There has to be communication going on between all your contractors. And a lot of times homeowners think, well, I'm going to schedule all this stuff myself, which is basically what you end up being as a GC, a general contractor, who's responsible for all the contractors who come in here, including, they did a pretty good job on the sheetrock on the ceiling, including the sheetrock guy and the carpenter and the plumber and everybody else. And so for you not to know anything as a homeowner, as far as way things go, these guys are only going to do what they're told. The carpenter is only going to do what they're told to do. The plumber is only going to do what he's told to do. He doesn't know who's going to follow and doesn't care because he just wants to collect his check. So he's never going to call me and say, hey, what do you think about this? Neither one of them are going to. They don't even communicate with each other when they're here. So it matters to me because I've spent the good part of the last 3 or 4 hours rectifying a lot of these mistakes that were made, because I have to follow this. I have to make my tile as perfect as possible, and I cannot do that with bad prep. That's my point. Prep matters. It matters a lot. Look at this. Why would the carpenter, knowing full well, I don't know if the carpenter left already, but the plumber full well knew that there's no way you can't get a flange on. There's no bite to put the screws on for the flange right here. This is 3 inches away. Okay? So the carpenter and the plumber weren't talking, and the plumber's like, I don't care. That's the next guy's problem. And it ends up being the next guy's problem, and then, yeah. So, again, this became my problem, all of this makeup here. And it's not exactly how I would do it if it were from scratch. But, again, I'm not going to tear apart the whole wall. I made it the best I can for what I have to do. That's the point. So don't get caught up trying to be your own GC. And if you're going to hire a GC, make sure the GC is on point with everybody doing what they're supposed to do, what they're responsible for. Make sure they all communicate because it matters a lot. Anyway, I digress. There is a lot of thin set on here, and the reason why my customer has, because this is a curbless shower, as I've already explained, going to be a curbless shower, is fixated on no leaks ever happening. So he has asked me, and I explained before, I'm going to be red guarding the entire thing. But he has asked me also to red guard all of this. And since the floor is only going up just past where that bottom plate is at, I have pushed thin set in all the cracks that you see. I pushed thin set in there, including on the inside of here, which you can't see. Well, you can see it upside down. Anyway, going to let that dry, harden up, and then I'm going to apply red guard to this entire area. And I believe outside of the floor too, before I even put the pan liner that's going to overlap that over that. So this whole floor, that whole floor, and up there about 4 inches or so is all going to get red guard first. Then finally I can put my pan liner in, overlap it probably about this far, put my wallboard down, red guard all that stuff, blah blah blah. That's it. That's all I have to say. Oh, and I got my studs up for my niche. They wanted a 24-inch niche, so that's what that's going to end up being. And hopefully with my planning, all my tile goes up to that point there, and then a piece of tile will go inside of there. Hopefully. I'm crossing my fingers. Well, this is a finished product of putting the red guard way before anything else goes into here. I actually want to set the pan liner and get this pan poured, but as I stated before, my customer wanted this red guarded first, as well as the outside floor. By the way, if you're going to do a curbless shower, it is recommended that you have an outside drain, just in case there is an overflow, since by the time the mortar and the tile go in there, you don't have a lot of room, especially yeah. So anyway, outside drain is recommended. Most people don't want to do that. If you see one of these curbless showers, say in a nursing home or something like that, concrete construction, you're always going to see an outside drain. pan liner goes next. RedGuard allows for their product to be a pan liner. So in theory, I should be able to just pour my mortar inside of here and be done with it. It's a done deal at that point. You can go to Custom Building Products, their website. They have a PDF, a very long PDF, tells you all the specs and all that stuff. From my best information that I have, you would need a mil thickness of 0.125, no more than 0.125 mil thickness for this to be a pan liner. I don't know what that equates to. I would say, my best guess, if I were adherent to having to use this as a pan liner, this is 2 coats. I would probably use 3. I did a cardboard box 4 or 5 years ago. I painted 3 coats of RedGuard in the cardboard box, filled it with water, and a week later there's only some evaporation, but the cardboard never got wet. And that was 3 coats. So I would be comfortable doing 3 coats. If you were really focused on, if you had some more, do 4 coats. But this is an overkill. And I always talk about overkill, and there's no point, and there's overkill, no point, da da da. I don't believe that this is needed. Me personally, my customer requested that I do it, so it's done. But the only time you do overkill is when you don't believe in your product. There are other people that want to do redundancy over redundancy over redundancy to make sure if one fails, they've got a backup fail-safe, 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 and that's what's going on here. Anyway, enough of that. I'm going to get to putting my liner in. Well, things got a little complicated on this lineal drain that I have. You can see here on the bottom there are clamps, and the clamps are actually very user-friendly. They're wing nuts on there, so that wing nut would go on there and it would clamp it in, and then on the end of here there are some holes that hold the legs, and the legs are very nice. I like them. They're flat, they're adjustable. Having an adjustable leg on here is wonderful, although this is way too high by the time everything is said and done. I don't know if I can show it. It's way too high. This drain ultimately needs to sit almost flat to the floor, because I have this long slope that goes from the very back where my back is faced all the way up to the front. So I'll end up at the end. This is roughly about just shy of an inch, and I'll probably about 1.25 inches of mortar that's going to go around there, and this bottom part is that quarter part. And so this needs to sit on the floor, and then my mortar is going to be that thick around the drain eventually. So in order for that to work, I had to cut out the floor. The plumber did a very good job going around the drain, or the carpenter did, somebody did, but I had to cut that out so I could get to it. Then I had to use an inside pipe cutter, which is this little spur type of thing. Put it on a drill, and then you can go down up to 3 inches and cut out pipe from the inside. And I cut off a bunch of pieces until I was comfortable where I'm at now, which is about 3 inches down. Then this is the threaded 2-inch piece, which actually has a gasket, an O-ring if you will, on the inside of here that keeps the water out. This is how it attaches in, and it's a pretty tight little fit, and that keeps the water out. And then probably a bead of caulking around there just for extra measure. This is threaded OD to fit into a connector ID, so it threads down into that. That glues down into that 2-inch pipe, and by the time everything is said and done, oh, by the way, use pipe dope on those threads. Spread some of that out. You could use Teflon tape, but this is going to be easier for you if you decide to do this, that is. Thread that down till where you want it. This is going to stop way before it gets down to the bottom thread. Then I can slide my drain in there, and that's not quite where I want it, because that's about level with the outside floor right now, and it has to be lower than that. But by the time I glue everything down and screw that down enough, it'll be about where I want it. But it's a real pain to try and do a curbless shower with everything sloping down to one end. Because of the fact, mostly because of the fact that I'm using the same type of tile in here, and all this tile has to match up. The large format, if you will. If this was just large format tile on the floor, and then we did something different over here with regard to the floor proper, with a mosaic or something like that, or even a 2x2, this would be a much easier process. But this is becoming a little bit problematic because of what I'm running into. But I got it covered. There are no problems in life, only solutions. It is a couple hours later. I finally got the drain in. A little more difficult than I anticipated it would be, but I got it worked out. As I said, there's always a solution. There's never any problem. Sometimes there's more solutions than just one. In this case, there wasn't. My pan material, my mortar, is probably just shy of a 1/4 inch, maybe an 1/8 of an inch before the floor proper. And then there's a gradual slope all the way down. There's probably, I'm going to guess, about 3/8 of an inch, maybe a little better than 3/8 of an inch of room right up against the drain there. So when I set my thin set and my tile, that it should butt up against it perfectly. There's a slight slope to that mortar back there. Not that it's important, because I can slope my thin set, so the pieces of tile will get put in there. The plumber didn't set this drain evenly, so I'm right up against my liner on that end, and on this end I got about 2 inches. You see the pan overlaps about 13 to 14 inches. There is a bunch of caulking in there. So I got most of it out. I put a straight edge to push out most of it. So there's a whole bunch of beads of caulking in there, and then I took a level and I pushed out, screeded out all of the excess caulking along here. So this thing is going to be very solid to the floor, and most likely when I overlap it with my backer board, I'll just screed out some thin set rather than screw into that. So anytime you do a shower pan, you always want to set a level on it. Not only make sure that the bubble's off, but that the level sets on top of the pan all the way down, that there's no humps and there's no dips. And then you do another one crossways. And so again, set directly on the pan, no gaps or anything, and the level is level, and that's about it. The drain is off kilter a little bit. It's almost level going across. It's slightly sloped in that direction, which is okay. I can't do anything about it because, again, the plumber didn't do the drain right. Well, anyway, it's a long story, but there's some play in the drain to a certain point. I had to kind of shim up this end a little bit just to get it to where it's almost level. And then going across this way, it's kind of cockeyed to this direction. I can't rectify that at all. So, unfortunately, it is what it is. Not a big deal. Again, my tile is going to butt up against there with the slope on it, so the water will still drain into it, and then on the back side too. Will be all the backer board. All the backer board. This is going to be a lot of fun, he said sarcastically. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, then subscribe. Hit that button and subscribe. I make nothing off of YouTube, so please be a Patreon member. I'm going to post a link down below to my Patreon account, and you can donate $1, $5, $10, $20 a month. Just pledge that on a monthly basis. That will help me produce more videos and content so that you can watch and learn from my channel. And donate at least $50 if you're going to call. If you're going to call for advice, donate to my PayPal, please. Donate first, and then feel free to call me or email me for advice. Otherwise, business calls only, please.